Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So behind me we have an 09 Fit. It has a 1.5 liter engine, 4-cylinder. This thing has around 255,000 miles on it, so it's pretty well up there on the mileage. And today I'm going to show everyone how to change your oil on one of these. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below. Definitely smash that like button because it helps the channel out. And with that said, let's go ahead and get started on today's oil change, I guess you could say. So where I always like to begin is open up your hood, get your car supported, however you're gonna lift it. In this case, we're using a lift, so we're not too worried about that. But if you're doing it at home, you may wanna try to raise it up as level as you can. But where I like to begin is make sure the engine is warm. Make sure that the car was running for at least 10-15 minutes. You wanna be able to thin out your oil so you can drain it out quickly and get more of it out of there. And where I like to begin is, let me switch hands here. Go ahead and remove our oil cap. The reason why I like removing the oil cap is so we can let some air get in there so the drain can drain a lot quicker. It flows a lot better. So now that we have that done, what we're gonna do is go ahead and just get our car lifted up in the air. Now that we have our car lifted and supported in the air, on the passenger side is where everything is going to be as far as the engine. Now here's our drain bolt and our oil filter. They're all pretty much close with one another. It's all on the right side. Now I'm going to take a 17 millimeter, and this drain plug is actually very loose. It's really weird because I don't have too much history on this car. All I know is it has a lot of miles and they said they just got it. That's why they're choosing to do the oil on it. And we actually did a tune-up on this earlier, which will be featured in a different video. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and let that drain out now while I get a tool to remove our filter. Now what we're going to do is take a filter wrench like this. We're going to come up in here and just go ahead and loosen it. Oil filters are rarely super loose, so you're going to need a tool to take them off, but you shouldn't need a tool to put them back on. So we're gonna go ahead and just spin this off. Now it's inevitable, making a mess, you're going to make a mess. So, you know, just be careful. Don't spill hot oil all over yourself. So we're gonna take our filter and just let it drain out. Now I'm gonna give the car about 10 minutes or so, let everything drain out of it, and I'll bring you guys back when we're all done with that stage. So I was trying to record this, but my audio dropped out in the last clip. But what I basically mentioned is that my customer brought me the oil and filter. In this scenario, they want to use these STP filters. However, I don't really use these. I'm not a fan of them, but it's what the customer supplied. But what I did here was I took the filter out of the box. In the previous clip, again, it has no audio. And what I did was I just filled it up with some oil, just like this. And this is considered to be priming the filter. Now the reason why I am doing this, and it's actually a good habit of being part of, is because when you have a car like this that has 250 some odd thousand miles, it's always good to have oil inside your filter instead of air. Because what happens is when you first crank the engine, if you don't pre-fill this, now it's not going to be the end of the world. The engine will eventually build up oil pressure, but this helps build up that oil pressure quicker, because as soon as the engine starts, the oil can be pushed through the engine. It only takes half the time. So your engine's not really starving any oil or anything like that. It's just basically flowing right off the bat. It's a good thing to do. Now some people live by it and swear by it. Some people say it does nothing. I don't want to open up a debate for that. It's just something that I'm choosing to do on this specific vehicle because of the mileage. What I'm gonna do now is go ahead and install my filter. My engine's been draining for a while. One thing you can do is just go ahead and wipe down your surfaces. Now we're just looking to get off anything there, and you should have oil on the surface. However, what I always like to do is your filter, before you install it, put some oil on this gasket. Now I can't flip the filter over because we pre-filled this. Some oil is actually going to drip out. So what we're going to do is go ahead and install this bad boy on here, just like so. This is the downside to pre-filling the filter. You're gonna get a little drip of it coming out, but in this one we didn't actually lose that much. But make sure your gasket is wet and able to go ahead and be lubricated before you put it on there, because what'll happen with these is if you put the gasket on dry, chances are that filter is gonna get stuck on there and not want to come out. So what we're gonna do next is take some brake cleaner and clean off the area. All right, take 2 with the brake cleaner. That's what it should flow like. I use these universal cans that you fill up and you pressurize yourself. So they usually lose a little bit of air if they're just sitting around. So now that we have our filter on, it's nice and tight. One thing that I didn't mention is when you're tightening a filter, all you need to do is just hand tight like this. So basically, once it stops moving by hand, that's all you need. Please do not take anything like this and try to tighten it. These wind up damaging filters. Filters are always hand tight. That's all you're supposed to do on them. So what I'm gonna do next is go ahead and take my drain plug. I went ahead and I put a new crush washer on there. Now I don't have the exact one this thing needs, but you know, I have something that'll work, a universal. Because I was not expecting to change the oil in this vehicle. It was more of like a surprise. They said, hey, we have some oil in the car, can you do the oil change? And I said, sure, why not? So we're gonna go ahead and tighten up our drain plug. And this is where people think you gotta tighten the crap out of this. You don't. Literally, right there, we are good. Don't overdo it. This is an aluminum oil pan. If you tighten it too much, you will strip it out. Now, I'm not gonna go to the extent of torquing my drain plug on there, but I just snug it up by hand. It's good enough. Now, always clean up after yourself. We're just gonna generally apply some brake cleaner all over the place here. And the good thing about brake cleaner is it dries up by itself. So once you spray it down, all the oil comes off, you're good to go. So we're pretty much done with everything down here. What I'll probably just do is just give this a quick wipe, just because it helps dissipate the brake cleaner a lot quicker. And now that that's all cleaned up, we're gonna go ahead and pour some oil in this thing. So we are back underneath the hood, and we're gonna install our funnel in here that we're gonna use to fill it up. This is probably like the worst part of this job, is the Honda put this in a really crappy area. It's just not needed to be there. Now, one thing I will advise everyone, when you go to the auto parts store and you get your oil and you get this huge jug, remember, this is a Honda Fit, very small motor. This only takes about 3.8 quarts according to my system, which is gonna be Mitchell. So remember, do not pour the whole thing in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and put 3.8, but realistically it's gonna be more closer to 4 quarts in there, because I know I'm gonna absorb some in the filter. And then once I do that, I'll bring you guys back in. So now that we have our oil in there, I did manage to spill a little bit. I cleaned it up with some brake cleaner, but we're gonna clean it up a little bit more here. So we're gonna go ahead and put our lid back on for our oil fill. And then the next step is actually gonna be pretty easy, to say the least. Now I'm gonna move my lighting back here, and we're gonna move our camera back here. And what you're gonna wanna do is go ahead and start your engine up for about 5 seconds or so. After you run your engine for a few seconds, what you're gonna wanna do is come in here, grab your dipstick, which is located right here in the center. You're gonna go ahead and clean this off. And on your dipstick, you're gonna have these 2 dots, I guess you can say. I'm sure you can kind of see them there. Let me put them behind the red rag. But you see those 2 little circles. And what we're gonna do with the clean dipstick is we're gonna go ahead and put it in there, and then we're gonna pull it out. Now, on this one, I didn't put all the oil in there. I'm actually just a little bit shy of it, because even though normally I like putting 4 quarts in them, because that's approximately about what 3.8 is. That's what Honda says it takes. I always like to make sure that I don't overfill them, because they are very small motors. It's always better to be a little bit underfilled than to be, you know, overfilled on these. If you do overfill them, you will have a smoke show, because they do wind up burning it and blowing it out through the exhaust. I say anywhere in between these markings is good, but closer to the top line, just don't overdo it. Now on mine, we were a little bit low, So I'm going to have to add some more here, and I'm just gonna do that while we're filming here, even though I might block out the shot. We're just going to add about, I want to say half a quart worth of oil. Alrighty, just like that, we got our quart out of there. And what I like to do here is go ahead and clean your stick off, and then go ahead and check your oil again. And we are pretty much where we want to be. It's very hard to show you, but it's just below the top line, which I want to say is good. I try to put these just a little bit under that little top full mark because I know that these can be quite picky. And what I like to do with the remainder of the oil is just give it to the customer. This thing does have around 255,000 miles, which is pretty high mileage. And what that means basically is that it may burn or consume a little bit of oil. Realistically, as they age, they do eat a little bit of oil. Consumption does go up. So it's pretty standard, you know. So I always like to give back the excess when they bring me oil. It's not my oil, I didn't pay for it. So therefore, I always give it back. So I'm gonna clean up my area here. And I don't know how well the camera is gonna pick it up. This engine bay is not lighted up very well, to say the least. But in case you ever spill oil here, always clean up your mess. I just take my rag here. The brake cleaner will break down the oil. And I only spill a little bit, but I'm a clean freak, so I'm gonna overdo it a little bit there. And there you go. That brake cleaner is still on there. That's why everything looks shiny. I'm gonna give it a minute or two to dissipate, and we're pretty much done with the oil change. Now that we've done the service, what we're gonna do is go ahead and turn our key to the second ignition position, and we should be at our oil life indicator. Now, I reset mine before I thought of filming it. Normally you'll have a little wrench light on here somewhere, and it'll tell you to change oil soon, or this percentage will be 5% or below. So what you're gonna wanna do is just kind of scroll through it, get to the oil life, which is right there. Then you're gonna wanna press and hold this. Now, sometimes you gotta hold it for a little bit. I don't know if it's gonna do it because I already reset it, but I believe it should. So we're just gonna hold it until we see that screen flashing. And then once it flashes, you're gonna press and hold it again. And what it'll do there is it should reset the oil life. Once it stops, it should show up reset. Now mine isn't gonna show reset or come up, but typically what happens if it's 20%, that 20 will change into 100, and then it'll stop blinking, and that'll be your reset. Once you have that, you are all set, and you can go ahead and put in whatever mode you want. And for those of you that don't believe me, 255,000 miles on the odometer on this thing, so she has quite a few miles on there for being a 09. All right, we are all set. That is how you change your oil on a Honda Fit. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. These cars are actually, real easy to do an oil change on. I think the hardest part would be just filling up the oil because of the way they recess the engine in these cars, so the cowl kind of drops it. But as long as you have a funnel, and you should be all right. If you do spill it, just so you know, if you spill a lot, I know we got a little bit, but I actually it was very little amount, and I cleaned it up with my rag and stopped it from flowing down. If it flows down through the engine, you're gonna have to clean the undercover, belly pan, and it's gonna suck, but overall, pretty self-explanatory, really easy to do. I wish all of them were as easy as this, to be honest with you, because some oil changes nowadays are just super complicated. If you do wind up doing this, again, it's an option to prime the filter if you'd like to or not, up to you. And another point that I want to make is wrenches are only for taking filters off, putting them back on, just your hands. That's all you need. Get it until it stops spinning, that's it, and you're golden. So that pretty much covers everything. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. As always, comment, like, and subscribe because it definitely helps the channel grow. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll catch you on the next video.